911, what emergency?
Yeah, Suchi Market, call the sheriff's department, please.
What's wrong?
The guy's trying to hold me up. On the outside, I locked myself in our house.
Listen to me carefully. This is 1199. I've been shot in the head. I'm at the hospitality house. Send me a life support unit. That suspect I called in about is left the area in the alley behind Lynn's, southbound. Get the units notified and send me a life support and the sergeant here at Jerry's North. Okay. Hurry up.
One man hit. My partner's been hit.
Offer needs help. Offer down. Sentry and McKinley. Offer needs help. Sentry down.
Officer needs help. There's an officer down. Sentry and McKinley. Officer needs help. Sentry and McKinley. There's an officer down.
Offer needs help. Offer needs help. Officer down. Sentry McKinley.
Officer needs help. Sentry and McKinley. There is an officer down.
Officer needs help.
Reality, defined by the dictionary as the quality or state of being actual or true, that which exists objectively and in fact. Reality is something we in law enforcement experience every day on the street. In our perception, we are aware of and control reality. In our confidence, our self-assuredness, even our arrogance. Why then, at the moment of ultimate confrontation, do we tend to desert this reality, ignoring what is before us in favor of hopes and wishes, in favor of ideals which could kill us? Fact. Police officers seldom die violently through an unforeseeable accident. Seldom are officers' deaths the result of a single unforeseen act. They are a culmination of events, paralleling, but apart from, the familiar realities of a person, a situation, or a location, each giving off a warning signal, each signal ignored. Each year, by teletype and the media, by picture and spoken word, or by personal experience, we are reminded 70, 80, or 100 times that police officers die. They die in big cities, in small towns, and in rural settings like ours. Each of these dead officers walked into a minefield, glaring with subtle warnings that something was wrong, that reality had been altered, and that caution, attentiveness, and survival thinking had suddenly become crucial at this moment in their lives. For reasons which we can only speculate, these officers, ignoring these warning signs, proceeded into self-deception and died. On June 1st, 1984, Deputy George Rice of the Lyon County Sheriff's Department was killed in the line of duty. He looked, but he did not see reality. Deputy George Rice met his death at home in the remote valley of farms and ranches where he grew up. Killed on one such farm by a man born elsewhere, but who also felt at home here. Lyon County is a picture of a rural county, farms and ranches widely spread, neighbors visible without crowding each other. A county where the social and cultural centers are usually the local tavern, country store, or the post office. Smith Valley is that kind of area, resting in semi-isolation in one corner of Lyon County, 22 miles from the county seat of Yerington, itself a town of only 2,200 population. Cattle and sheep are the primary source of livelihood in this valley, where life progresses at a fairly easy pace. Communities like Smith Valley are often policed by officers like George Rice. A 33-year-old, 12-year law enforcement veteran, he had worked for the Nevada Highway Patrol and the Douglas County Sheriff's Department in Mendon before coming home to Lyon County. He was assigned as the resident deputy in Smith Valley, where he had grown up and graduated from high school. He knew everybody in the valley and much of what went on in their daily lives. George was committed to the valley and its people and, like most resident deputies, seemed to be on duty all of the time. Lonnie Thompson, Chief Deputy at the Lyon County Sheriff's Department and former Chief of the Yerington Police Department, remembers.
Dearly, he was a good man. I met him when I was in high school, played football. I was in Yerington High, he was at Smith Valley High. Played football against him, that's where I met him. And several years later run into him in law enforcement, and he was just a great guy.
Jesus Eckhart Maris Carina, known as Jesse, was a 57-year-old sheep herder and ranch hand, originally from the Basque region of Spain. He had lived and worked on various ranches in the Smith Valley area and had been acquainted with George Rice for over 20 years. They had known and liked each other, with no hints in their relationship of what was to come.
People, use the police. I know him, and never had how many times he crossed together we see by. I never ever idea for kill somebody. Never in my life. Why this police? Because he was a good police, real good police.
You're talking about George Rice?
Yeah.
Did you like George?
Sure, I like it. How many times I cross when I go to work with Smith Valley, I cross it. I say bye and tour always.
You were never mad at George for arresting you and taking you to the mental hospital?
Never. No, never for that, because I know I was sick.
The first sign of trouble occurred on February 29, 1984, when Sharon Blanks, a Smith Valley resident, had been overtaken and forced off the county road by a green Chevrolet pickup, driven by a previously nondescript, law-abiding ranch hand named Jesse Maris Carina.
Oh, I was, that time I was sick. Just lay off my boss, okay? I coming from Topes to home. The Topes coming this way, you got it down like this before Wellington. Okay, going over there with pickup. It wasn't my boss pickup, lady pickup. And then one lady, I see close to me real fast, about 100 miles an hour, close to me. I followed to her, what the hell is going on this lady? I followed to her and I told her, why you run too fast like this with car? I told her. I don't know what they say, I don't remember. Anyway.
Jesse told Sharon Blanks that he would go get his motorcycle, return, and kill her. George Rice investigated this incident and, at his suggestion, a citation was issued and no arrest was made. On April 13, 1984, Jesse was again arrested by George Rice. This arrest was a result of a spousal abuse which took place in the family's home on the Ted Bacon Ranch in Smith Valley. During the incident, Jesse told his wife that he would kill her and any cops who showed up. Jesse was taken to the Lyon County Mental Health Facility. Several firearms, including a Mini-14 and a .303 rifle, were removed from the house for safekeeping. In George's arrest report, he states that, quote, Jesse has been acting very erratically lately, and I can get some witnesses to prove he is unstable. Jesse was in mental health custody for approximately 20 days before he was released. Pursuant to a court order, Jesse's firearms were returned to him on May 27th. On June 1st, at approximately 11:54 a.m., the Lyon County Dispatch Center received a report of shots fired in the area of the Ted Bacon Ranch in Smith Valley. The original call was considered routine, since reports of this nature occur frequently in ranch country. 4 minutes later, the dispatch center received a second call. This time, the report was that two vehicles passing the Bacon Ranch had been struck by gunfire. A third call, shortly thereafter, reported that rounds were being fired over the Smith Valley High School, located directly across the roadway from the Bacon Ranch. George Rice, as the resident deputy, was the first responder contacted. Rice, returning from an officer survival school and dressed in civilian clothes, responded to the call, armed only with his service handgun. Other units, including Deputy Larry Bogard, Deputy Bill Hunt, Corporal Ed Gibbs, and Reserve Deputies John Abrott and Larry Glock, began converging on the Bacon Ranch from various points in Lyon County. Deputy Rice notified the other units to gather in the parking lot at the Smith Valley High School, where a plan of operation could be formulated. George Rice, who had known Jesse a long time, became the leader of the entry team, formed on the spot from available personnel. This team included 2 reserve deputies and only 1 deputy in uniform, Corporal Gibbs. During the briefing, George told the other officers that he would and could talk Jesse out, that Jesse did not need to be shot. For emphasis, he repeated the directive. No one was to shoot at Jesse, no matter what happened. The deputies were then deployed. Reserve Deputy Abrott to the front of the house, all others to the rear. A local rancher who lived next to the high school was recruited for transportation and drove the 5 deputies across a cultivated field in his pickup truck, delivering them to an irrigation ditch which they could use for cover and concealment as they approached the ranch house from the rear. After crossing the ditch, the deputies fanned out. Deputy Hunt moving behind a shed containing a large water tank just west of the main house. Deputies Bogard and Gibbs took a position behind some sheds just north of Deputy Hunt, and Deputy Rice and Reserve Glock moved to a clump of trees east of the sheds and in line with the back door and windows of the house. Rice, having borrowed a .30 caliber carbine and a bullhorn, prepared himself to negotiate with Jesse. Meanwhile, Deputy Bogard and Corporal Gibbs were moving into a position behind the sheds west of the main house. Unknown to them, Jesse had moved from a position in the back doorway to a circular driveway approximately 12 to 15 feet from their location. Jesse's Mini 14 was loosely aimed in their direction. Jesse's attention was drawn to George Rice, operating the bullhorn, and he was, at the moment, apparently unaware of the approach of Bogard and Gibbs. As they came along the back of the shed, and just as Bogard was making a visual check around the corner of the shed, Gibbs, armed with a shotgun, stumbled and discharged a round into the air. Jesse immediately turned towards Bogard, who was now slightly visible behind the shed, and fired a shot. This round struck an unknown object near the 2 deputies. Both deputies took cover, then rechecked the area where Jesse had last been seen. At this moment, 3 more shots were fired at the shed behind which Bogard and Gibbs crouched. The rounds passed through the shed, wounding Gibbs in the process with flying debris from the shed wall. This time, Jesse was again inside the residence. Sheriff Dave Wilhelm, responding from Yerington, 22 miles away, radioed the deputies on scene and told them not to fire a shot until he arrived. Approximately 5 minutes later, a shot rang out from the house, louder in volume, apparently a larger caliber than the previous shots. The deputies at the rear of the house called out to each other, doing a roll call type welfare check. George Rice did not answer. Larry Glock moved to a position where he could see George clearly and discovered where the latest round had gone. George had been struck in the left side of the forehead, above the eye, blowing the top of his head open and killing him instantly. Glock could see brain matter and skull showing and reported to the others that Rice was dead. The team then pulled back further to meet Chief Thompson, who had additional equipment. Once it was clear that George Rice was dead and the suspect was barricaded inside the home, most of the team pulled back to a residence on Smith Gage Road.
Got within a couple hundred yards of the house when we met the team coming out of the residence, or away from the residence down the ditch towards where we were at. And when they finally met with us, that's when they advised us that George Rice had been shot, and basically told us that they were almost sure that he was dead. Because one of the reserve officers who ran right beside George saw his head when the bullet hit him. Basically, after that, the sheriff decided there would be nobody else go back into the farmhouse area, that he was going to call in a SWAT team either out of Washoe County, which would be the Reno area, or Reno PD. And I believe the Douglas County SWAT team was probably the SWAT team that showed up. And at the meeting back with everybody over around the high school, where they were kind of centrally located, the sheriff asked me if I could take a sniping position and maybe get a shot at Jesus and take him out before anybody else got injured. So at the time, I told him I'd give it a try for him if that's what he wanted. The police department didn't have a sniper weapon to use that I was familiar with. And I was handed a rifle from one of the farmers that lived in the valley. And it was a 7mm Magnum, had the scope and everything on it, and I was advised how it was zeroed for his hunting purposes. And I set up in a shed that would have, I believe, been on the east side of the ranch house where the suspect was holed up. And I would say at least 2 or 3 hours later before I ever got a sighting of the suspect moving around around the house where he was held up. And that's where I took a shot at him. And even after the shot, the suspect fell out of sight. But that far, I don't, I couldn't tell if I had hit him or he had just ducked down or what. So I radioed the sheriff and advised him that the suspect did go down, but I wasn't sure if it was from the shot or what. And probably 6, 8, 10 minutes, whatever, passed, and I saw the suspect moving hunched over back into the house. And at that time, we just sat back, and one other time, late that afternoon, we saw him step to the outside the north door of the farmhouse, and another Yankton PD officer and myself got just another quick shot at him, and he was back into the house again. And then just prior to dark, the Douglas County SWAT team moved into the area. They had gotten there earlier and basically did a quick look around the area, but decided not to go in until it got darker. Excuse me. And just prior to dark, they were moving into the ranch house area when the suspect started waving a white sheet, pillowcase, or whatever it was he had in his hand, and gave himself up. I believe it would have been probably 5, 6, 7 hours since that much time had elapsed since I took the first shot at him, which we found out later was the shot that did hit him, but didn't keep him down.
Where did your round hit?
I believe the round, if I remember right, hit the suspect through the right elbow area. And I was told it went through the elbow area and through the stomach and out the back area on the side. I didn't ever really I got close to him after he gave up, but I didn't pay that much attention to, where the bullet actually hit.
And the distance of your shot measured how far?
Remember back, I'm sure we went back and taped it, and I believe it was 430 yards.
With a weapon that you had not previously fired?
Right. Basically the only practice I had with the weapon is I dry fired it 15 or 20 times prior to deciding I was, trying to get used to the trigger pull, that type of thing. And no, I never fired it before.
Was there an aftermath for the killer? Can we trust his perceptions?
Coming on my head, a lot of things. Okay, like this communist people coming over there close to my house.
You thought that early in the morning?
Yeah, my things, yeah.
So before you even saw anybody on the property, you already thought the communist people were coming?
I have that in my...
In your head?
Yeah.
What else did you think?
Well, that's it. I think of that.
Why did your wife and children leave the house?
He's gone.
But why did they leave?
Because he had a...
Were you doing something?
No, nothing, because he's gone. He had a graduation or something like that day. Mm-hmm. My wife is going to see my kids. Mm-hmm. And I know she never coming home. What happened 3 or 4 o'clock afternoon and nobody over there? All I think is my thing come in my head, somebody killed my family.
So what did you do then? So
that's when I got more crazy.
Okay, then you became more crazy, and what did you do then? You went and got the gun and started shooting?
Yeah, we shooting the truck in about 400 yards.
Why?
Highway.
Why shoot at the trucks?
Well, I don't know.
What were you thinking?
Thinking it was the communist people is coming from highway. And then later I can resist it, you know. I coming like this, you know, real temper, you know. And then I go outside in the front for asking somebody out, okay? When I go outside, I go from here to from that fence, that far. I can go no far, because I can walk no more. I turn around, somebody outside coming over the alto, I don't know what he say in English, put in the ground, you know. I just use this t-shirt, nothing else. No underwear, nothing. How I go on the ground like this, and later he's coming helicopter over there, close someplace. I hear helicopter coming. What is going on? And the ambulance people from 11 Smith Valley coming over there. I see that lady is working the ambulance. He look at me. I was in the ground like this, all the way down, and coming nurse, I don't know, from Reno, I don't know what he was. He put it in the blanket to me and roll it and take an helicopter to Reno.
Deputies John Warren and Ray Salo of the Carson City Sheriff's Office SWAT team took the wounded suspect into custody. The siege was over. The questions this tragedy has created seem endless. Why did George give the order not to fire? Why did he lie down in the open with viable cover so close by? Should George have been allowed into the scene at all? What happens to the team when the team leader is killed a few minutes into the incident? Let's walk through the scene with Larry Bogard, Jesse's first target, and share his thoughts.
In my personal opinion, George should never have been allowed to go in. When we left over there to come over here, we did not have the gas with us. George had already stated a couple of times that he knew or felt that he could talk him out. Didn't really think that we had to shoot him. And that was the thing that bugged me the whole time through.
What, that these decisions were being made before you ever got here to assess what you had?
Not that necessarily. It was the fact that, number one, I didn't feel George should have even come in here. I felt like he knew him too well. Here again, that's strictly a personal opinion. I felt that we should have had the gas with us. We had one young kid with us that was inexperienced with his weapon. Well, you can probably already tell I still have some very, very strong, hard feelings about a lot of this. I really do. I don't think that there was the need for a quote-unquote entry team, but if there was, it should have been a trained professional team, not us, because none of us had been trained on team entry at that point. We didn't have a CERT team, but we had CERT teams, SWAT teams, whatever you want to call them, available to us. And, you know, naturally, except for dark times on your side. And I think they should have been called in a lot sooner than what they were.
Walk through, and
I don't think it's an exaggeration at all. I don't think you can downgrade the entire thing enough to really describe it with any particular phrase. Just the phrase clusterfuck's the best thing I can come up with.
well, you could sum it up in a few words. How come George is dead?
George fucked up.
Bye.
Not providing cover for himself and in being in here on the entry team in himself.
What did the members of the Carson City SWAT team think about the tactical operation they were asked to take over?
Everything was real confused. I believe they got all the kids out of school. They got all the kids out of the area. They had pretty well had the highway blocked off, kept people out of the area. It probably wouldn't have been anything at all for him to be out there where that motorcycle was and a rifle with a scope to hit anybody outside in front of that school. any officer walking around out there, he probably could have shot and nailed them. Had the care flight chopper behind the school, and we were all out front of the school, which was bad in our case. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed in a lot of the actions of our people, of Lyon County's people. When it was totally supposed to be turned over to the Carson City SWAT team, that was the order from Sheriff Wilhelm, that there will be no shooting. All they're going to do is observation, and then they do fire around. They do hit him in the arm. It could have been a benefit, but it could have been, worse off yet.
An officer dies, and those left behind are forever changed. Perceptions are altered. Methods and tactics are fine-tuned. Unspoken feelings are vented. Most of all, there is reflection, with all the fear, self-doubt, and vulnerability it reveals.
Well, that entire day, from the time I was laying in this building to take a shot at Jesse if I had the chance, and all the way through the entire incident, I never did feel any kind of, guilt, if you want to call it guilt, about wanting to kill him, or even after I found out I had shot him or whatever. I would say it would be probably, I don't want to say several days, I don't really remember, but I know a few days afterwards, I was still very upset and still was wishing, damn, I wish I could have, got another shot, a better shot, and kill the guy. I do remember after the guy gave himself up, and basically everybody's now at the house, and the ambulance crews are there, and they're putting IVs and stuff, ingesting the suspect. And as I walk by, one of the EMTs or the ambulance crew or whatever says, "Hold this," and he hands this plastic bag full of liquid to me, and I look at it, and pretty quick I realize I'm sitting here holding an IV for the guy who just killed my friend. I get me the ambulance crew member that was working on him. I grabbed him by the shoulder and I said, "Hey, you hold the son of a bitch. I don't want to. I don't want to save the man's life." And I walk off. I guess I could have interpreted my feelings as being mad. I think I said earlier, though, I was disappointed in George. I was disappointed at George. He should now. I don't know, maybe Larry's right. Maybe I was mad because he got himself killed. Well, but I got the feeling that, damn, George, why? Why did you do it? I think I took it to myself as disappointment more than mad. Maybe because I really liked him. It's hard to be mad at a man, a friend that's dead.
George's death was not in vain. George died doing what he had to do. I can promise you that we'll remember you the way that you would like for us to remember you. And George, until I see you again, goodbye, my friend.
George Rice was killed last Friday by a gunman who has a history of mental problems. The shooting has shocked this community, most of whom have known George Rice all their lives. George Rice leaves behind him a wife, 3 children, and scores of friends and relatives.
Matt and Sally, the rest of George's family, I'd like to once again thank everyone.
Reality. When the final lethal confrontation is over, this must be the reality. To feel you've lost is to lose. We have the tools, the knowledge, the training to win. Know that the criminal is not superior. Know that he can be defeated. See your warning signals. Act on them. Don't let complacency kill you. Focus your strengths. Be consistently aware. End each day a victor. You will survive. Our thanks to you, George, for your sacrifice and what we learned from it. Rest in peace.